is Pharaoh. I live in a treetop in Nazareth. From my tree, I see up and down the street. I can see donkeys and carts, women carrying big jars of water, and rich men in colorful robes. My story is about what I saw from my tree one day. It was early in the morning, and I was watching a young girl named Mary. She was a kind girl. She never forgot to sprinkle the last crumbs for her breakfast out for us birds. I perched above Mary's window, hoping for a few crumbs of bread. I wanted to get some before the crows came. Suddenly, Mary was talking to someone I had never seen before. It was an angel who was dressed in white and had a bright light around her. The angel said, I had heard that Mary would be marrying a carpenter named Joseph. Maybe the good news was about the wedding, but the good news surprised me so much that I almost fell off my branch. For the next thing the angel told Mary was, Mary was going to have a baby, but being a mother is a lot of work for a young woman. After all, who would take care of Mary and the baby? But Mary was not worried. She smiled and said to the angel, the angel was gone, and Mary was alone later that day. I saw Mary talking to Joseph. He looked very sad. Maybe Joseph could not help Mary take care of God's son. When Joseph left, I flew overhead and watched him walk slowly back to his carpenter shop. He lay down on his bed and went to sleep. Early the next morning, I followed Joseph to Mary's house. He seemed to be in a hurry. He knocked on Mary's door.
Hi, my name is Clumper the donkey. I'm an old donkey, so I'm a little slow. I belong to a carpenter named Joseph. Carpenters make things out of wood. Joseph makes chairs and beds for people's houses and wheels for their horse carts. I help him carry his wood and favorite tools. His favorite tools are his hammer and his saw. We have worked together for a long time now, but recently things have changed. Now he has a wife named Mary. Sometimes I help her carry water from the well, and she never forgets to bring me a carrot when she comes to the carpenter shop. My story is about a long trip that Joseph, Mary, and I took together. It didn't seem like a good time to travel. As Joseph packed bags and clothing on my back, I asked my friend Tweety why they were taking a trip this time of year.
All humans had to travel to their hometown, be counted by the Romans. Joseph's hometown was called Bethlehem. So Mary and Joseph had to travel all the way to Bethlehem to be counted.
So the bags were packed on my back. Mary came out and Joseph helped her on my back too. This was very strange. Mary usually walked with Joseph. After a while, I noticed how tired she looked. I didn't mind even if my load was heavy, and as I said before, I'm an old donkey, so we couldn't go very fast. The road was curved, fast chariots with Roman soldiers zoomed by us. Lots of people were walking toward Bethlehem. One woman spoke to Mary and said, I thought to myself, what if the baby were born on our trip? I had to get Mary to Bethlehem right away. I started clumping along as fast as my old legs could carry her.
Hello, I'm Fluffy Kitten. I belong to an innkeeper in Bethlehem. An inn is a place where people can sleep when they are visiting from out of town. An innkeeper gave me a very important job. I keep mice out of the kitchen. I have to rest all day and evening, so I can stay up all night and chase mice. My story is about one evening when the inn was very crowded. I tried laying in front of the fire, but I couldn't get much sleep. People were everywhere. I finally found a place to lie down right outside the front door of the inn. Everyone else was out inside, so I could get some sleep. Just as I closed my eyes, I heard a sound. It sounded like a donkey walking very slowly in the dim light. I could see a man and a woman with their own donkey. They knocked on the door of another inn that was down the road. Someone came to the door and said, the man and woman came down the road and stopped right in front of my inn. The man knocked on the door. Just then, the woman on the donkey said she was so tired. The innkeeper's wife looked up and said, if this woman was going to have a baby, I knew just the right place for them to stay. The stable behind the inn was the same place I had my kittens last spring. It was nice and warm inside the stable. They could sleep on the soft hay. It was up to me to show them where to go. So I jumped up and began to meow. Meow, 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 meow. I meowed and waved my tail. Meow. I led them behind the inn and right to the stable. She then scratched behind my ears. Now that this nice man and woman had a place to stay, maybe I could finally get some sleep.
Hi, I'm Clarence the cow. I live in a stable in Bethlehem. A stable is a small barn where animals live. I live here with a dove and 2 other cows and a horse. On most nights, we don't have any visitors, but we want to tell you about one night when we did have some special visitors. That night, the moon was just coming up. The door crept open and a man and woman stepped inside. We have never had people sleep in our stable before. The man and woman must have been very tired because soon they were sleeping quietly in the hay. That sounded like a good idea, and so I curled up in the warm hay and shut my eyes. Later on that night, a strange new noise woke me up.
Hi, I'm Harriet, the Roman Charioteer's horse. That's the sound of a brand new baby.
The horse was right. It was a brand new baby. The woman wrapped the baby in blanket and laid him in the manger.
He sure is a little guy.
I looked down into the manger and softly lowered the baby, closed his eyes, and was fast asleep in his manger bed. Soon the only noise was the baby's soft breathing and the lowing of cattle.
Hi, I'm Yip Yap Puppy. I belong to a little shepherd boy outside a field in Bethlehem. I'm not old enough to really guard the sheep yet, and my boy is not big enough to watch them. But we go along with the other shepherds and their dogs so we can learn what to do. Sometimes we had to run after a little lamb that had wandered away from its mother. My story takes place after a busy day in the fields. My boy and I had played in the sun for hours. When night came, it was time for bed. We wanted to stay up all night and watch the sheep, but we weren't allowed. My boy rolled up in a blanket and we looked up at the stars. Maybe if we stayed awake all night, the other shepherds would think that we were old enough to guard the flock. But the stars made us so sleepy that my boy and I were sound asleep. We heard the shepherds shouting. We both jumped up wide awake. What happened, I wondered. Is there a wolf or a lion? But it wasn't an animal that scared the shepherds. They were looking at an angel in the sky. The angel said, suddenly the sky was full of angels singing praises to God. It was the most beautiful music in the world. I howled right along with over. The lights and voices and singing were all gone. When it was over, the shepherds talked about what they had just seen. They asked each other. So everyone started running to Bethlehem. My boy and I got to lead the way because it was our idea.
Hello, I'm Wilsey Lamb. I live in a big field with lots of other sheep.
My story is about the night I took my first trip away from the field and into the town of Bethlehem. We were all sleeping peaceably when suddenly there was a bright light in the sky. I heard talking and singing. I didn't understand what was happening. When the night was dark again, the shepherds got ready to leave. One of them was my special shepherd. He had been taking care of me since I was born. I didn't know where we were going this late. It was way past my bedtime and I was still sleepy. But when I saw that Mama was coming with us, I knew everything was going to be all right. My shepherd carried me all the way to Bethlehem. As soon as we got into town, we stopped at the first inn we saw. The shepherds knocked on the door and asked. We stopped at the second inn. The shepherds knocked on the door and asked. The shepherds tiptoed to the stable and looked inside. The baby was sleeping in the hay just like the angels had told them. Soon it was time to return to the fields, but the shepherds did not go back there right away. They went down the street shouting. And even though I was a very little lamb, I had seen the new king.